Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, VC. We're here this time of year again. Since this 2024 is the first year that I got into making videos and starting the channel, this is my first time being able to do Christmas countdown. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 12 amazing Christmas albums that I love, that I grew up with, and that are near and dear to my heart. And then as a present at the end, we'll do one more Acid Archives entry, which will be the surprise at the end. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I will say this one caveat. There isn't much for Psych or Acid related Christmas albums as far as I know. So a lot of these are going to be older eclectic albums that make me feel like Christmas time of past, which is what I like to think about at Christmas time, is being a kid and being with family. And these albums, for the most part, do that for me. So without further ado, the first one we're going to talk about is Elvis Christmas album on RCA. So this album originally came out in 1957. I have a reissue here from 1964, but absolutely amazing songs on here. One of the biggest ones, the biggest hits, was Blue Christmas for him. And this thing was repressed and reissued like crazy back in the day. But Mr. Elvis not only sings the classic songs, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, White Christmas, and then Blue Christmas, and Santa Bring My Baby Back to Me was also a big one for him. On side two, it gets a little bit more spiritual, it gets a little bit more religious. So I love the album. For me, side one is the go-to. All right, then we also have Mr. Ray Charles, The Spirit of Christmas. Speaking of Soul Christmas, here we have it. So this came out in 1985, and this was just a beautiful, beautiful soul album brought to you by Ray Charles at a time when Ray Charles' career was probably waning for the most part. So does one think, is this a cash grab or is this a legitimate album? And the answer is it's a legitimate album. And I will say, of all the songs, the one that most people will probably recognize is This Time of Year, which is a phenomenal song, but it is in Christmas Vacation. So Clark Griswold is up in the attic watching old 8mm film and crying, wearing his grandmother's clothes, it looks like. So I always think of that when I'm watching this one. So it gives me fond memories. Okay, next we have Mr. Bing Crosby. Absolutely love Bing Crosby. It's not Christmas time for me without Bing Crosby. And I thought I had the original here, and I'll show you the label, the original Decca with the black label. And turns out I don't, because this came out in 1955, this version here, but his original version came out on shellac in 1945. So you had to have a 78 player to do that. But it has all of his amazing songs, or songs that he's made famous, right? Silent Night, White Christmas is a huge one. Jingle Bells, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Just a smooth, silky, velvety voice. Absolutely amazing. And he has a follow-up one I'm going to show you here too. I Wish You a Merry Christmas, which is also a great album. This one came out a little bit later, 62, but this one has Little Drummer Boy on it, which is another favorite of mine, and I particularly like the Little Drummer Boy that was sung with David Bowie back in the day. Absolutely beautiful. All right, now we're gonna go for a curveball. Country Christmas, y'all. This is Christmas with Buck Owens and his Buckaroos. I absolutely love Buck Owens and Buckaroos, and Ringo Starr, actually, of the Beatles, was a huge, huge fan of Buck Owens and the Bakersfield Sound. And this is an interesting Christmas album. It has, as you can imagine with country music, a lot of sorrow and pain and the bittersweetness of Christmas. But he's got a couple of really killer ones on here. The Santa Looked a Lot Like Daddy is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. Also, he's got Santa's Gonna Come in a Stagecoach. But this album, it always brings a smile to my face, and I I get some looks sometimes when I put it on, but it's absolutely fantastic. Capitol Records. This one came out in 1965. All right, now we're going to move even further left of the dial. We've got Duke Pearson, Merry Old Soul. So Duke Pearson, this one came out in 1969. It's on it's a Blue Note, which is awesome for you jazz fans out there. This is the later Blue Note with the Liberty Records when they were acquired by Liberty Records. But Duke Pearson was a jazz pianist, and he was credited with molding and producing the hard bop sound of the 60s for Blue Note. So a lot of those Blue Note albums from the 60s, the hard bop albums, he produced. He was also a session player, absolutely amazing pianist, and he does a lot of the classics here that you see a lot on a lot of the albums: Sleigh Ride, Little Drummer Boy, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, Jingle Bells, a lot of these great songs. But as you can imagine, no singing, just playing. But this is a great one to have on in the background. It's absolutely beautiful and definitely worth listening to. Now we're going to go back to soul. We got the Jackson 5 Christmas album. This one's from 1970. Look, we got adorable little Michael Jackson there and the whole gang: Jermaine, Marlon, Tito, and Jackie. This was a really big album, big hit for them back in the day. And the big hit for them was Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And also we have, I really like Frosty the Snowman and Up on the Housetop. Um, Something about hearing young Michael Jackson's voice around Christmas that kind of brings a cheer to everybody's heart. So this one is pretty easy to find, readily available, and it's absolutely worth listening to, especially this time of year. Okay, we're going back. Mr. Andy Williams' Christmas album. This one's from 1963. So this is my wife's favorite Christmas album. And as the kids say, this one slaps around our household. So he has a bunch of amazing, lighthearted, easygoing songs. White Christmas is amazing. The holiday season, outstanding. The Christmas song, great. It's the most wonderful time of the year, on and on. This whole thing is all killer, no filler. An interesting side note about Mr. Andy Williams: he was most known for Moon River in the Andy Williams television show. And he was from Wall Lake, Iowa. And there's not a whole lot in Wall Lake, Iowa. It's tiny. They're known for Andy Williams, cookies, barbecue sauce, and I had a college roommate from there. And I think that's about it. So, but he had a follow-up album as well. This is on Columbia Records. I'll show you the follow-up album. We like the follow-up album too. Merry Christmas, Andy Williams. This one's also fantastic. I think the Red album gets a little bit more play at our house, but we never forget about this one either. And this follow-up here came out in 1965. The original there in the Red came out in 1963. And they usually drop these albums in November, usually around Thanksgiving. Typically is when they drop the Christmas albums to make sure that everybody's able to switch gears and have time to get it before Christmas. So. Okay, we're going back to the country. We've got Mr. Willie Nelson, Pretty Paper. This one came out in 1979 on Columbia Records, which is awesome for me because that was the year I was born in 1979. So near and dear to my heart. Also, just a huge, huge fan of Willie Nelson, and this is his 24th album. So 24th album in 1979. So that just gives you an idea how prolific Willie Nelson was. But this is an absolutely beautiful album, heartbreaking at times as country music can be, but also sweet and amazing. And the title song here, "Pretty Paper," just is so beautifully sung and so beautifully executed. And Willie actually wrote that song way back when in 1963, and Roy Orbison actually sang and made that song popular in 1963. But I feel like Mr. Willie Nelson takes it back on this one, and this is a really special album to me. All right, country to soul. James Brown and his famous Flames Sing Christmas Songs. Wow, this album is amazing. And here's what I'll say about James Brown. I feel like you either love James Brown or you don't want anything to do with him. But I think James Brown is absolutely amazing. I think he's fantastic. He was the hardest working man in show business. Here, he's the hardest working man at Christmas. That's my takeaway here. But there's so much beautiful soul music on this, and the very first song gets me every time. I don't have the right order here, but the first song on the album is "Let's Make This Christmas Mean Something This Year," and I don't know what it is about that song, but it absolutely pulls me in. I think it would pull you in too. Um, Check this out if you haven't heard it. It's definitely worth a listen. He was on King Records, by the way, and that album came out in 1966. All right, we're going to stick in the soul vein. Here's arguably one of the most popular Christmas albums of all time, "A Christmas Gift for You" from Phillies Records. So this is Phil Spector's Wall of Sound. This is his contribution to Christmas. This came out in 1963, November 22nd, actually. And this album originally tanked because that was the same day that John F. Kennedy was shot. So this did not become popular till a little while afterwards. But this is a phenomenal album. This has been ranked on Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time. It's been voted number 142. It's been listed as an album that you must hear before you die. And quite frankly, I think it's deserving of all those accolades. And so you get the wall of sound treatment here from Mr. Phil Spector, but you have a lot of classics, and they're done to perfection, soul style, right? You have White Christmas, Frosty the Snowman, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and this song, done by Darlene Love, Marshmallow World, is it's so good. It's so good. I can't say enough. And I'll show you. It's kind of fun because, like I said, this wasn't a huge seller back in the day, so the originals go for quite a bit. But here's the original Phillies label, mono, not even the yellow. So this is the blue, which before they turned to the yellow. So this is the very, very first pressing, and I actually got this sealed. I think I got this sealed off of eBay a little while back, but just thrilled to have this in my collection. And this one is always, always spun during Christmas. It gets many spins. So if you haven't heard it, you don't know what I'm talking about, which I'm sure most of you do, listen to it right away because it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right. This is now one of my most favorite Christmas albums of all times. I'm a huge, huge, huge Beach Boys fan. And the Beach Boys Christmas album to me is about as perfect as it gets. I absolutely love this album. The original songs on this album from side one are what do it for me. This was on Capitol Records as well. Came out in 1964. But if we take a look at the track listing back here, again, side one has original songs written by Brian Wilson. So side one is my side. Side two has the traditional songs, but the ones written by Brian Wilson, Little Saint Nick, The Man with All the Toys, Santa's Beard, Merry Christmas Baby, Christmas Day, on and on and on. Those songs are priceless, they're timeless, and I can't get enough of them, especially this time of year. So this one is sure to make everybody happy, and always a winner when it's on our turntable here at home. All right, here is my number one favorite. It's A Charlie Brown Christmas featuring Peanuts characters, original soundtrack from the television special, A Charlie Brown Christmas. And the soundtrack was by Vince Guaraldi, who I talked about before in the last couple episodes. He was a San Francisco Bay Area native, and that's where he did most of his music. So this album is on the Fantasy label, which was out of Berkeley. And this one came out in 1965, and there's just something about this album. There's melancholy in it. In the Christmas special was about have we lost sight of what Christmas is all about? Is it too commercial? So there's a lot of lament and disgust about the commercialization and the purchasing of things for Christmas. So I feel like this is such a beautiful, beautiful album, and it's great to have on the background, but it's also great to give your full attention to and listen to. And the songs that everybody knows are Lucy and Linus and the Christmas Time. And I'll show you what I have here. I've got the original mono white label promo, which I don't even know where I dug up, but I found this and absolutely cherish it. And it's amazing. And I actually have a special connection to Charles Schulz and Peanuts because Charles Schulz was born in Minneapolis. He was raised in St. Paul. He had his family in Minneapolis. And then later on, when he became a cartoonist, he moved to Sebastopol, California, which is right outside of Santa Rosa, which is also where our family lived for 8 years. So I feel like I've had a lot of echoes as far as places that we've lived, as far as where Charles Schulz has been. And interestingly enough, Charles Schulz is half Norwegian, half German, and that's exactly what I am. So a lot of connection to Mr. Schulz. Definitely check that one out if you've not heard it. It's amazing, and it makes you feel like a kid. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy. One honorable mention I'll give is this one here. Played all the time when I was a kid, and I've just spent some time trying to resurrect this one. It's Disney Christmas, all-time favorite. The kids absolutely would love this one if you have kids. I enjoyed it as a kid. My kids enjoy it now. But you have a lot of the traditional Christmas songs sung with the help of all the Disney cast of characters. I think this one came out in 1981. Yeah, 1981. But this one is great if you have kids, sure to put a smile on their face. So would recommend this. Okay, now we are going to jump into the Acid Archive, the little present that I have for you all here at the end. And the album that we are going to review is called Hickory Wind. This one is a rare one, and I actually got this one. I think I bought this off of eBay a couple of years ago. It does have some age spots throughout, but it's still in the shrink, which is really great. And I'll show you the label. The label is called Gigantic Records. And they were really the only one on the label. There was one other full LP that was made on this label, but it was basically made for Hickory Wind. Didn't really get any traction beyond that. And this group was from Evansville, Indiana. And this is not your heavy psych, not your hard psych, but it is, I would say, more country psych, more rootsy flavor, soft singing, but very beautiful. And I will go ahead here and read you the entry. from the Acid Archives, which we showed last time, about Hickory Wind, what they say. All right. Hickory Wind. Hickory Wind. This one gets the 4 for value, so that means that it's high up there in price, and I do recall it being quite expensive. But here's what we say about Hickory Wind in the Acid Archives. Very Midwest sounding rural rocker with rootsy, the band type numbers and country influences, which was I was kind of mentioning to you. Has kind of a Midwest flair vibe to it. Despite its humble surface, this is an unusual LP that can sound vastly different depending on the listener's mood. Although the end of side 2, I usually conclude that it's enjoyable and well-structured piece. The vocals are a bit flat and playing often unexcitingly, but somehow this contributes to the album's earthy, realistic feel, like strolling into an Indiana bar one afternoon and finding a band on stage rehearsing. One track has fuzz rock aspirations, and there are a couple of good slow numbers with organ as well. The closing ballad is a personal favorite. It moves in the same Americana roots and bar rock regions as Riley and Traveler's Aid, but is stronger all over with an appealing small town charm and grower qualities. So as far as I'm concerned, they give that pretty high accolades, and I do as well. It's really a great album. I don't think it's really available for streaming. It's one of those ones that really is in desperate need of a reissue to hear. So on closing, I would like to say thank you if you made it all the way through the video. I'd also like to thank everyone who has recently joined and subscribed. And again, huge shout out to Psychederic, who shouted me out in his last video and has really helped move the needle forward for me as far as viewership and being able to participate in a lot of these things. So with that, we'll say Merry Christmas to all. And my next videos, I think I'm probably going to work on the 2025 tag, and I may also do the Sad Bastard tag as well. So look for those coming up. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you next time.